All right. Good evening, everyone, and you're listening to RedPill78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill news for Saturday Night Livestream. Looks like the connection is good. Looks like I've got confirmation from YouTube. If I can get a 5x5 in the audience, I would so appreciate it. I hope everyone's having a great night. We're going to go through and we're going to do some introductions. Say hello to my friends here in the chat. Let's see here. We've got people in the audience from Ohio. We've got people from Wisconsin, Oregon, Brighton, UK, Southern Indiana, Massachusetts, Brandon, Mississippi. We've got Georgia. We've got, let's see, Gulf of Mexico. No notification. Great. That's horrible. Let's see. I'm Memorex. I'm not live. I'm Memorex. Northern Indiana. Wow. Gothenburg, Sweden. That's perfect. Amarillo, Texas. Alberta, Canada. You guys, one sec. I am just going to throw in that slow mode so that I can see these as they go by. Save that. New Jersey, Indy, California, Atlanta, MacArthur, is that what I saw? No, McClure, Pennsylvania, Rochester, New York, Michigan deplorable, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, New Jersey, Idaho, Nebraska. My mic is hot. Okay, if I sit back, you guys, is this better? If I sit back from the mic? Let's see, Bradenton, Florida. Tell me if this is good, guys. I've got my mic a little bit different today. Heber, Arizona, Mississippi, Michigan, Crystal Falls, South Carolina, Texas, Northburg, St. Louis, South Carolina, hola, East Texas, Illinois. Sounds overmodulated. Okay, let me turn down the gain just a little bit. What's up, Dana Fingler? Oh, my mic is loud. Okay, I'm just going to sit back a little bit farther, you guys. Let me know if this sounds good right here. I was kind of close to the mic previously. Let's see. Better, 5x5. Okay. Yeah, it's better. Okay. All right. Good, guys. Good. All right. So, you guys, I have a couple of special guests tonight. We're going to be hanging out with my friend Steve Outtrim. Steve is a researcher. Steve is also a YouTuber himself. He's a great guy. Wonderful, very smart man. He's from New Zealand. So, hopefully, we're going to have some interesting things to talk about. I know we're going to have interesting things to talk about. And then after that, at 10 p.m., my friend Thomas from TRU Reporting is coming on. Thomas and I are going to discuss this week's news. All right, so it looks like it says I'm sounding good. We're going to jump over to my new screen here. So check this out, guys. You're going to see something pop up. You're going to see my regular screen, but then I've got the chat overlaid over the top of it. So it looks a little bit different. And also, when you super chat or when you subscribe to my channel, there's going to be a notification that pops up on the screen as well. Now, I do have a couple of people I need to say thank you to. Already, my buddy Jeff Stewart. Let's see. First of all, Dana Finkler. Dana, Muffin's #1 fan. Where we bark one, we bark all. Thank you very much. Okay, turn down the microphone more. Okay, well, turn it right there. And then I'm going to sit right about here. And we got Jeff Stewart, another one from Jeff Stewart. He said, where we go one, we go all. Hi, RP78 Red Pill family. Good to see you, Jeff. Also, 5x5. Thank you very much, buddy. Dana Finkler, what does Muffin know about the Bush funeral envelopes? You know, I wish that she knew something, because I don't know something. Now, you guys are going to see Edward Rossi's super chat pop up on the screen here in a moment. And let me know what you think. I'm pretty excited about it. It's going to be there it is. Edward Rossi donated $5 through the super chat. Edward, thank you so much. Isn't that cool, you guys? Isn't that cool? Look at that beautiful image of our president standing atop a tank. It's amazing. Also, Donna Davidson Hendricks. Thank you very much, Donna. Is everyone buffering? I sure hope people are not buffering, because I've got full green stream health here from YouTube, it says. Also, Emma Bear 830, thank you very much for that super chat. Time travel, watching with my therapy slug. All right, awesome. Glad you're here. Glad you're here, time travel. All right, you guys. So now that I know everything's good, I've got good stream health. we are going to give my good friend Steve Outtrim a call. And if somebody has not subscribed, if you want to go ahead and subscribe, then you will see your name pop up on the channel here. Not here, all good. No buffering. Okay, good. Full green. I'm glad to hear it. Also, you guys, will you take a look at my mouse? Can you see my mouse right there? Do you see what that is? That is also a picture of our president for my mouse. Justin Raines, it's showtime. Thank you so much, buddy. All right, we're going to call my buddy Steve Outtrim, and Steve is going to introduce himself to you. Steve, here we come.
Hi there.
Good evening, Steve. How are you, friend?
Very well, thanks. How are you?
Excellent. Everyone, I would like to introduce you to my good friend Steve Outtrim. Steve, this is the audience. How are you doing today?
Great, thanks. Hi, audience. Great to meet you all.
Yes, we're happy to have you here, Steve. Nicole, thank you very much for that super chat. Here, let's see, Steve. I'm just trying to get the little thing to pop up so that I can pull your picture over. White on Rice says, Jeff and Tara from Plano, Texas, love you, Patriot. Thank you very much. I love you guys, too. All right, Steve. So I've got a weird-looking type of distortion. It looks like somebody put your Skype call through Photoshop, and it just failed. Skype just failed on us. Great. So we're going to bring Steve back up. Why did Skype fail? Pivville, Jason Was a Gentile, Walk Me Home remix is on fire. That's correct. Steve, are you there, buddy?
I'm here.
I don't know what happened. We just lost the call there for a second. All right,
Yeah,
Steve.
it's a poor network connection.
Oh, shoot. Okay. Are you the only one at your house?
I am. I'm actually in my office, but we've got very, very fast fiber down here in New Zealand, so everything should be okay on my end.
Yeah, same thing here. I actually just was on the phone with AT&T all day making sure that everything was going to be good tonight, and I'm seeing live the stream health is just fine, so I don't know what's going on. All right, so Steve, I'm going to have your image popping up here on the screen momentarily for the audience, and I need to say thank you to Colin Jones. She said, Turner or love me some RedPill78 and methods. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So, Steve, go ahead and start introducing yourself to the audience so that they can get a flavor for who you are.
Sure. So I was born in New Zealand, and I moved to Australia when I was 19, so my accent's probably more Aussie than Kiwi. And I got started on the internet back in 1995. I had a company called Sausage Software. The URL was sausage.com, and I wrote a program called Hot Dog, which made it easy for people to make web pages. And in 1997, that was named by Wired magazine as the third most downloaded software on the internet, after Netscape browser and Eudora, which was an email program. So I took the company public when I was 23. I became the youngest CEO of a publicly traded company in Australian history, and I took a record that Rupert Murdoch had held for about 40 years. And I to retire when I was 26 in the year 2000 for a couple of years, then started investing in early stage businesses, did about 10 years of investing, and was back and forth between Australia and San Francisco. And then from 2010 to 2017, I was living full-time in San Francisco till I moved back to New Zealand after 25 years away. So I'm a researcher. I'm an amateur historian, and my particular focus has been the true history of the tech industry, because what we hear in the news and what we read in magazines and stuff is a very sanitized version of what really went on.
Yeah, and I would imagine living in San Francisco was probably ripe pickings for you to get information.
Yeah, well, it's a fascinating place, San Francisco. I love it, and actually, when I moved back there, it was shortly after Obama became president, and I thought it was quite exciting that we've got this young guy after 8 years of Bush, launching these senseless wars.
Sure.
Now we've got someone who finally gets it, and isn't this going to be great for the world? And instead, I kind of watched in horror as this progressive ideology took over. And, a great example about San Francisco is that they decided to ban plastic bags. And I guess for environmental reasons, that's kind of a good idea. But the social consequence of that is now it's been rated a biohazard, one of the most polluted cities in the world, with more than 100,000 pieces of human poop located in the street. And that's because the homeless can no longer use plastic bags to poop in, and there are no public toilets anywhere.
Yeah, San Francisco is kind of a nightmare right now. Did that whole, like, the homeless population and the issues with all that, did that have anything to do with your decision to move back to New Zealand?
No, not so much. Actually, I got involved in cryptocurrency, and when I got a deal to help a friend raise some money through an ICO, an initial coin offering, I had a look at the legislation, and basically the US is one of the worst places in the world for crypto. Heavily regulated and really trying to figure it out. And so New Zealand looked like a much better environment. So mainly moved back for that reason. But another side reason is, I'm a huge supporter of President Trump. And you talk about Trump derangement syndrome and liberals losing their minds. San Francisco is the absolute epicenter of that. That's I'm not sure. I haven't been back for a while, so maybe it's changed, but I doubt it.
I don't think it's changed at all. I've heard horror story after horror story of the types of things that go on there. But I can't believe that it would have been too welcoming a place if you were to be an open Trump supporter. And I know exactly what you mean about Obama. I think that he was presented as this kind of messianic figure, who was going to, take us from the status quo and, do all these great things. He was given a Nobel Peace Prize as soon as he came into office, but it wasn't very long before it was very obvious that he was not the person he said he was. And basically every single one of his policies took us in an opposite direction from what was promised.
Yeah, and it's fantastic to see now, the country coming back. And, I think that the 1776 America, the idea of the Constitution, that we're going to form a new country that isn't governed by kings and princes and oligarchs, but is really based on the freedom of the people. That's an inspiration to the world. And I've always really looked up to and admired America based on those values. So it's wonderful to see it coming back.
Definitely. So, thinking about what's happened recently in New Zealand, what's the climate like there? And I mean, like I've heard, we were talking about, the structure of government the other day, but has it changed recently, or have you seen any type of a progression in one way or another since you went back?
Yeah, it's definitely changed, and we've got kind of an unusual political system here, where the current Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern, there was an election when I moved back in 2017, and she lost the election. She didn't win it, and yet she's the Prime Minister. And what happened was the guy who won, he didn't quite have enough votes to have a technical majority. And so he tried to form a coalition, and the other members of the coalition rejected that. And they formed their own coalition with the current Prime Minister, putting her in power. So it's very strange to be the Prime Minister of a country having lost an election. And I think that perhaps put her in a kind of a shaky political situation. And, a few days before the Christchurch massacre, John Podesta came to visit New Zealand. And he gave a huge warning. He said that the New Zealand election in 2020 is a juicy target for a cyber attack. And then what happened was a massive attack that, there was a physical component to this attack of shootings in 2 mosques, but there was a massive cyber component to this. And in New Zealand, Zero Hedge got banned, 4chan and 8chan got banned. Nobody in the country was allowed to go to these websites. And it was simply because people were questioning the events. And even today, you're still really not allowed to question what happened with the official story. But there was, initially, New Zealand is a very multicultural place, and we're in the South Pacific, and we're kind of the capital of all the other South Pacific islands. So Fiji, Tonga, Samoa, Rarotonga, a lot of people from the islands come here, particularly in Auckland, where I live. And there are 2 islands to the country, the North Island and the South Island. And Christchurch is on a different island from me. It's the largest city in the South Island, the population of about 400,000 people. And traditionally, the South Island has been actually pretty white. And what happened, there was a large earthquake in New Zealand a few years back that devastated the town of Christchurch. And since then, there's been an increase in Muslim refugee immigration into New Zealand. And many of them have gone down into Christchurch. But the Muslims are still about 1% of the population. And there's not really ever been, to my knowledge, any anti-Muslim kind of sentiment or rhetoric here. New Zealanders are quite tolerant and welcoming. And so there was an outpouring of sympathy for the Muslim population. But then we saw stuff like the Prime Minister was, wearing a hijab scarf over her hair, and she, put a Muslim call to prayer in a nationalist address in Parliament. And people are like, well, okay, we're sympathising for this tragic event. We don't mind that happening once. But the next thing they did is suddenly they removed any references to Jesus Christ and God from the national prayer in Parliament, and permanently. And so then the next thing is, well, we're going to ban semi-automatic weapons. And we saw a similar thing in Australia back in the 1990s, a massacre called the Port Arthur Massacre. And again, you have the sort of lone gunman narrative that you weren't allowed to question, and a lot of holes in the official story, and an instant backlash reaction of banning handguns in Australia, as well as guns with a magazine with capacity above 3, I think, for long guns. And it did not, perhaps it stopped mass shootings because there hasn't been a mass shooting in Australia since, but it definitely didn't stop violent crime. And so what happened was the incidences of stabbings went up, and just, Australians, if you've ever seen Russell Crowe on South Park fighting all over the world, there's a bit of a brawler culture down here. And so the Australian bar brawls kind of got out of hand, and people started dying from being punched in the head and their head hitting the sidewalk and things like that. So, people will still be violent whether you ban guns or not. And I think in the case of New Zealand, there's a lot of hunters here. There's a lot of people living on farms. There's a large ownership of guns. And people are, I think, starting to look around and say, well, look, we sympathise with the Muslim community. We're sorry that people died, but why should we have to give up our freedoms because of that? And so coming up to this election next year, it's difficult to see that this Prime Minister, who didn't really win the popularity contest of the election, is going to be able to sustain that wave of sympathy, global attention, all the way through to win.
Yeah, I can't imagine that she would be able to stay in power. I mean, is there any type of a concerted or organized movement against her, or maybe to lift up any other candidates? Do you see any other politicians that could face her and win?
Yeah, I mean, I think the other party that she's up against, the National Party, probably has a strong chance of winning at the next election. We also have down here the Internet Party, which was started by Kim.com, that you guys have probably heard of. And I voted for them in the last election. And in my district in Auckland, there are only 2 people that voted for them. And Kim.com was living here. He's a German, so he can't vote. But his New Zealand wife, I'm guessing, was the other person who voted for them. I don't think the Internet Party is going to go too strongly.
No, that's hilarious. Oh, man. So, one of the things that we have, interacted with about online many times has been our favorite Anon, QAnon. And something that you've drawn scorn for has been your characterization of Q as a psyop. Now you have a particular history of researching psyops and things along those lines. And I think that people don't realize that a psyop, all that means is a psychological operation. So you've got this thing that the president and this team of people have done. And, and by putting out this information, they've created the Great Awakening. It has lifted people up in a different way than you would be expecting to see something, from a standard type of PSYOP, something from an intelligence agency or something.
Yeah, I mean, I don't see it as a bad thing in any way, and all Q asks people to do is do their own research and don't believe in the mainstream media. And I've seen from very on, I believe that it was a psyop coming from the Trump team. Mm-hmm. And if you look at right before the election when Dr. Steve Pachenik, he went on InfoWars and he said, we've initiated a counter coup because a coup was attempted against the government of this country. And white hats within the military intelligence community selected Donald Trump to be their front man to come and take power peacefully and legitimately through an election. And I believe Pachenik when he said that. I think that everything that's happened since seems to really suggest that's how it's been playing out. And you look at the position that Trump has been in with almost the entire mainstream media against him. I mean, even Fox News, you've got Hannity and Tucker and maybe a couple of other voices, but even the rest of that channel is completely against him and spreading just the most outrageous lies and disinformation. And, Operation Mockingbird was the CIA's infiltration of the mainstream media for propaganda purposes. And this is what we've seen in the last 2.5 years is absolute exposure of this Mockingbird media. They think nothing of lying to us. They think nothing of trashing the president and slandering anybody who supports him. And so how can he get his messages out? Well, thank goodness for Twitter. Yeah. He's able to communicate with the people. But as we're seeing, even that is being manipulated and shadow banned. And you go to Trump's Twitter, and I went the other day, and he had made 5,000 comments on a tweet, and the first 20 comments were from the two Krasenstein brothers that are both completely anti-Trump. Now, how could 20 comments from these two people all be next to each other as the immediate comments following the prepresident, right? Yeah, so that's impossible. Yeah, we're restricted in that the format of Twitter and getting significant, complex pieces of information across. And I think that's why there was the need for QAnon. Because this operation is saying, hey, have a look at this area here, do some research into this, go put some of these pieces together, look into these names. And so people from doing their own research and then sharing it with the community, it really has been this great awakening. And what's been wonderful to watch has just been millions and millions of people. And it's not just in the United States. QAnon is worldwide. Global. Everybody in the world is affected by the United States. No country has more foreign bases. No country has a larger military, and no country meddles in the affairs of other countries. Meddles in the affairs of other countries more than America does. And so, given this global effect, it makes sense for us to watch it. And here in New Zealand and the United Kingdom, all around the world, we're dealing with these same issues of corrupt politicians, secret societies, and I truly believe that the world is run by this Luciferian pedophile cult. And I, as a researcher, when I first got on the internet in 1994, I would be looking for conspiracy theory sites, and I was doing my own research. I was awake back then, and there wasn't that much information on the net. But over time, that's got better and better. And for me, one of the most difficult pills to swallow was that the most elite people in the world are these Satanist pedovores and practicing this incredibly terrible stuff. I learned about it and I just refused to believe it for years. And eventually the evidence for it became so overwhelming. And I think that what's happened now is that the public has really quite rapidly woken up to this, because you look at someone like Jimmy Savile in the United Kingdom, very close to the royal family, very close to the politicians, protected by the top levels of media for decades. And now since his death, it's come out the things he was doing are absolutely appalling. And prisons and psychiatric hospitals and juvenile facilities, they gave this guy keys to them and he could just come and go as he pleased. And it's turned out that, he was even doing necrophilia, which is with corpses. I mean, this is just hideous, but he was welcome in the palace. And so I think that in the United States, we did see some of this in the 90s. I'm old enough to remember the Boys Town scandal, the Franklin cover-up, and the accusations that George Bush Sr. had it going into the White House, rent boys staying there all night, checking in for parties and then not checking out till the next day.
Yeah, it's pretty awful, the things that they've been able to get away with. And, I like to think about Q as, psychologically uplifting for us, but as a negative psyop, as we're used to seeing on the cabal and these people that we're working against.
Yeah, definitely. And I think if you look at the viewership of the mainstream channels like CNN, it's really gone through the floor, and alt media is stepping up to take over, and people are turning to channels like yours to get the truth. And as a result, we're seeing now this, quite a strong backlash and crackdown against the alt media. But I don't think that it's sustainable, because I think now the cat is out of the bag. So many people have woken up and just are refusing to be lied to. And they could shut everybody down off YouTube, but they would have to basically shut down the entire internet to stop all of the voices getting out now. And every year there are just more and more platforms, and also more and more people standing up to present their own research and opinions.
Definitely. Steve, I'm trying to figure out how to do this so that I can show you on the screen larger. So just bear with me for a second. I'm trying to make sure that everybody can see you but not see me, because Skype does not like to make it so that I can be anonymous. Hang on, here we go. All right, it's working. Got it. Okay, sweet. All right. So yeah, your points are right on. I mean, the mainstream media has for years been controlling the narrative. They have spoon-fed us everything that they want us to believe, all the stories that they want us to consume, and all the points that they want us to take home and talk with people at the water cooler about. And, what's happened since Donald Trump has become president is that, even before Q, by using things like Twitter and, reaching out directly to his followers, despite all of the censorship and everything that they've done to try and, keep him quiet, he's been just amazing, I mean, like, I've seen more people wake up in these last 2 years than I have in my entire life. And it's been, it's been so heartening to be able to watch this. I mean, during the former administration, I basically lost hope. I was like, man, they have completely destroyed America, and I just could not see it coming back. But, ever since Trump came into the office, it's just been like one win after another. He has done so much, and we are now the news, as our favorite Anon has said. I love the idea that I can go out and reach out to sources directly. I can speak to people about these things, and whereas before, like, if you would have walked in to, like, say, just an average everyday job, and you started talking about some of the things that have been unveiled, they would have looked at you like you were completely insane.
Yeah.
Do you remember when the White House released the long-form birth certificate several years back?
Right, I remember that, yes.
Yeah, so, I used to build websites, so I had a lot of experience with Photoshop and stuff like that. So first thing I did when I downloaded this file was to open it up in Photoshop, and boom, you've got over 100 layers of different things just pieced out and cut out together, and having that physical evidence in front of me, and even showing people that physical evidence, they still could not face the fact that our government could lie to us so completely. You go and you talk about things like the Gulf of Tonkin, or Agent Orange even, or like the things that happened with vaccines, on our soldiers throughout the years. Even depleted uranium, that was another one that took people a long time to really grasp and feel that they could understand. But now it seems like, that dirty word, the conspiracy word, is now just, it's on people's minds because they know that it's the truth. This is business as usual. This is what people do in our government, and this is how they've controlled us. And now we get to go around that with things like Twitter and YouTube, despite all the censorship that we have to deal with. It's still working. I love being able to hear from people, and they tell me, like, I just found your channel, or I just heard about Q, and I'm like, where have you been living? For the last 2 years, you've been under a rock, but there's a lot of people out there still left to reach out to.
As Q has told us, future proves past, and you can kind of see now, looking back to the election in hindsight, what Trump had to battle through with these accusations of, Russian collusion and this investigation and the Mueller report and everything like that. Trump was elected with lock her up, and the base wanted justice. And instead, he's had to deal with all of this real total injustice. So how do you tie tie everyone together and keep everybody maintaining faith that justice is going to be served through this period. Well, I think QAnon has done that. And now, when the Mueller report came out, if you follow Q, you weren't surprised by that.
Exactly.
But the people who follow the mainstream media, and it seems like most of the Democratic Party, were completely stunned and floored by it because they have been peddling conspiracy theories. And over here, we're dealing in facts and evidence, and the evidence is irrefutable. And, I'm really excited about the next few years because I think that we're going to see a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence, possibly a once-in-history occurrence. For centuries, these secret societies and oligarchs have really oppressed the people and kept us in the dark and fed us with a bunch of bull. And for the first time with the internet, there's a possibility for the truth to get out there. And I think that enough research skills have been developed now for millions of people that we're able to discern, what is true and what is bull.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. I mean, I think you're right. I think that with as much as we've experienced and we've exposed and has been examined before us, all of these things, we are looking at even more. Like the next couple of years are going to be incredible. I can only imagine. I remember when President Trump came into office, and like you said, he was elected on Lock Her Up. That day that he said the Clintons are basically good people, I don't want to punish them. So many people just flipped a lid, like how could he do this, And at the time I was thinking, I bet you he's got something really special planned. I think that he probably just wants them to rest on their laurels and think that they're okay, and it worked. Hillary came out swinging. She never left the public eye. So now, as this information continues to roll out and more truth is exposed, she's backed herself into a corner. I mean, like she's been having, talking a big game this whole time. And then, pretty soon, more people than just us, the rest of the world is going to know exactly how diabolical of a person she actually is.
Yeah, and I'm a student of Sun Tzu's The Art of War, as is President Trump. And it's absolutely amazing to watch him put the art of war into practice. And one of the things is never interfere when your enemy is in the process of destroying themselves. And I think they really, the other thing, like Q said, is how do you catch a very dangerous animal? And you need a trap, and that's what's happened. They've basically been lured out into the open. Everybody has seen them for what they are. They took all of the bait, they've lapped it up, and now they're left flailing around with the nets, rapidly closing in because the evidence is all there. The metadata is all there. And as followers of QAnon, I think that we know a lot of things that happened that haven't yet been presented in the New York Times and haven't yet been presented in court and the Senate committees and everything. But it's all coming out. It's all coming out. It's the 5th of May here in New Zealand. I'm a day ahead of you guys. So I'm just wondering what tomorrow is going to bring in the US. Is there going to be some massive dub?
Oh, I can only hope. I can only hope. The possibilities are endless. We know so many things that are about to come up. We've been waiting on these things, and I've got plenty of clips queued up for the second half of the show that I'm gonna be going through, you guys. But the president's talking about declassification right now. He's talking very openly about it, and
treason.
And treason. He's putting it out there. And here's the thing: President Trump has never been a person to just talk out of one side of his mouth and then do something else. Everything he's said that he was going to do so far, he's actually done. His campaign promises are coming true. The claims that he's made have been proven to be absolutely accurate every single time. So, when the president starts talking about treason and saying that, these people are going to need to be held accountable, I really believe that that is going to happen. But I do think that one of the reasons we haven't seen it yet is because, obviously we had to get through that Mueller report. That had to be, over and done with. He had to be proven, conclusively that he didn't do these things that he was being accused of. And, and then beyond that, I think that he's stretching this out so that it can obviously be used for 2020.
Yeah, and one thing that there's a whole group of anti-Q people that are very active on social media, particularly Twitter, and they do seem to operate in groups, and they seem to operate from a very similar narrative. And one of the things they keep saying is that there are no sealed indictments. Which is, if you look into it, that's just a ridiculous claim. I mean, there are 90,000 sealed indictments.
I think it's up to 94,000 now.
Right. Yeah. And the last stat that I saw, I think, was for April, that there were more than 6,000 just in that month. But we're also starting to see the sealed indictments becoming unsealed. And it's things like Julian Assange. That's one of them. That's one of the biggest cases in the world.
Yes.
And what about Nexium? Can you imagine a case with multiple billionaires, at least half a dozen pretty Hollywood actresses, the president of Mexico's children, a child sex trafficking all around the world, people kept as slaves in a room for years, and yet there's barely a peep about this story in mainstream media. And James Alefantis, since the Nexium story broke, he's been out of the US. He's hiding out in Europe.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and this is it connects into Pizzagate through the Caffritz Foundation. I forget her first name, but Mrs. Caffritz was one of the Nexium members, and also a close friend of Alefantis, and his Transformer art project together. So we're also seeing a lot of these corrupt politicians and political people connected to child pornography are starting to get busted. And it doesn't matter whether they're Democrat or Republican, Trump's going after them all. There's no partisan aspect to this. It's about truth and the light and really draining the swamp.
Exactly. Yeah. No, this is not a left or a right issue. This is a human issue. And President Trump is taking all of these people to task. That's very interesting. I didn't know that he was out of the country. But you're right. I think one of the reasons that the mainstream media has been so silent on this in particular is because it's big money and it connects to some major people. I've covered some of this stuff. Yes, I've covered some of this stuff on past broadcasts, and the connections with Kirsten Gillibrand and her family, her mother, her stepfather, her father. This is generational. And then, like you said, the former president of Mexico, his children. Keith Rainier had he was in the process of setting up, to take over not only American government, but also Mexican government. We really dodged a bullet with this last election.
Yeah, and the Nexium cult was set up in Albany, New York. That's the center of government for New York State, and they were spying on everybody. They were spying on politicians. They were spying on Edgar Bronfman, the head of the World Jewish Congress, who was in regular email contact with Hillary Clinton. So they were reading Hillary Clinton's emails in this cult. I've got a Steemit channel. It's Steve Outtrim, all one word, on Steemit, and did a few posts there about Nexium. Is Nexium a MK Ultra brownstone operation? And it really has all of the hallmarks of the type of stuff the CIA has been busted doing again and again and again. In the 1980s, we saw the Finders cult, where these children were being trafficked, and the police arrested 2 men with them, and the case had to be dropped and abandoned because the CIA got involved and said, no, you guys can't investigate this anymore. So they haven't stopped doing that sort of thing. And another thing about Nexium is that they actually they had a number of patents, but one of their patents was a method for determining if someone is a Luciferian. Yeah. And just like in A Clockwork Orange, they would connect people, with brain sensors on, and they would expose them to the most horrific graphic violence and sexual violence in videos, and they would monitor the responses. And if they found complete psychopaths that weren't, moved by that in any way, then this patent determined that they're Luciferians. Now, why is this blackmail child trafficking cult trying to figure out if someone is a Luciferian? To me, that's absolute evidence right there that this Luciferian pedo cult, it's real, and it's very, very powerful, and it's the tentacles are everywhere.
Yeah, it seems to me that no matter what the name of that patent was, it was more than likely a method to determine whether or not someone would be a good fit with NXIVM. Because, I mean, why else would they be showing them those things? I mean, Keith Rainier needed people who were, psychopaths so that they would want to control people, so they would, be right at home in this pyramid structure that they had. Also providing Keith Rainier with, all of the terrible things that he was interested in. And using, your power like that, and what's crazy is that the way that NXIVM was set up seems to be like a microcosm of like the American power structure, like whether it be corporate or political, I mean, the blackmail, using, the sexuality, or like, these disgusting needs that Keith Rainier had. Using those things to harness people and to gain power and to maintain their influence in society and politics.
Yeah, and using the Hollywood component for recruitment.
Yeah.
There's Alison Max is going out and tweeting people saying, hey, I'm part of this fantastic women's empowerment group. You should come because you want to be a strong woman, don't you? And then as it turns out, as you get to the top levels of the women's empowerment group, you get branded as a slave and forced into sexual service with the cult leader.
Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. And, I mean, I cannot wait to see who else pops up as a member of NXIVM. Did you see several months back, it might have even been a year ago now, when they figured out that Stormy Daniels was a member, not only because of like stories of her, being involved, but you can look at those pictures of her like waist tattoo, and you can see the initials, the brand inside that tattoo.
Yeah, I wrote about that one too, and also Dr. Jennifer Pena, who was Mike Pence's personal doctor. There's some rumors that she was part of this cult as well. So we really don't know how far it reaches, but we do know that it was big. It was well funded. I mean, they had a $50 million private island in Fiji. They had multiple private aircraft. They had offices and children's training centers in more than a dozen places around the world. This wasn't just some kind of fly-by-night self-help group. This was extremely well organized and being funded by the Bronfman family, who, Bronfman means liquor man, and this family goes back to Prohibition and the days of Al Capone. And, if you've seen Boardwalk Empire, these are the people smuggling the liquor into the US during that time. That's how they built their fortune. And the family has been very intertwined with the Rothschild family as well.
Yeah, well, tell me about that. What connections have you put together between the Bronfmans and the Rothschilds?
Well, I just think that they've been in business together for a long time. I believe Rothschild was involved in the financing of Seagram along the way. They also had Universal Music. I'm not sure if that's still part of their empire as well. But in conspiracy research, it doesn't take long before you run into the Rothschilds and the stories of, how they broke the Bank of England and really took over the world's economic system. And all that stuff is true. It's historical fact. It's proven. And the family even boasts about it themselves. But to me, what's interesting when you follow the money is, where did they come from? Their name used to be Bauer, and then one day they changed the name to Rothschild. Something that people don't realize is that the Rothschild and the Schiff family, as an Adam Schiff, are also very intertwined. That basically, when the Rothschilds got their start, they were living in the same house in Frankfurt, Germany, as the Schiffs. And the Schiffs have been agents of the Rothschilds for a very long time. Some of the families that were behind them then were Oppenheimer, as in Robert Oppenheimer with the Manhattan Project.
Yes.
He was from a centuries-old banking family that was some of the initial financiers of the Rothschild. And then the Warburg family, connected with the launch of LSD around the time of World War II. The Warburg family goes back to the ancient Venice and Florentine banking in the days of the Medici, and they were known as the Del Bang family. So I don't see the Rothschilds as being at the top of the global pyramid. They're basically known as court factors, which is an old-fashioned term for a cutout, managing the money for the Venetian black nobility, the very, very wealthy oligarchical European families who can trace their wealth, the Knights Templar, and bringing in this whole system of fiat currency, fiat banking, and that traces its roots all the way to Babylon.
Now, here's actually a perfect question for you, Steve. Somebody in the audience asked, have you seen the research that's been done on the Pessoa family as a result of the Q posts? Can you tell us anything about that?
No, that's very interesting, and that's something that I'd actually looked into a couple of years before Q ever came out, and it does seem to check out that this family was involved in many trusts, and then basically the trusts were infiltrated, broken up, and co-opted by the Rothschilds around the 1940s. I'm not sure that P equals Pessoa. P could be called the papal bloodlines, and that's when you're getting at some of the true ruling oligarchical families of the world. But I think the Pessoa stuff is very, very interesting, and the idea that when the railroad was first being put together, and there was basically two alternative routes to create a transcontinental railroad, one through the north and one through the south. And some of the true origins of the Civil War were not so much about the ideological idea of slavery, but more about preventing this southern railroad from being constructed. And the families and the banks that financed the railroads, they didn't just have trains, they had all of the land all along the railroads and next to the railroads, and absolute massive, vast fortunes. And the other thing is, you look at the Louisiana Purchase. It was such a huge amount of money back in its day. I think it was like $110 million or something back in the days where that was really a fortune. And what happened to that money? Did it all go out of the United States, or did it stay in the US and get reinvested in railroads and steel, in real estate and banking and insurance?
That's an excellent question. That was
I think.
Go ahead.
I think also people who are interested in this, in following the money back to, who's the real power structure of the world, I'd like to point you to someone called Sean Ross. His current YouTube channel is called Central Intelligence Agency, but he also goes by Chatsafrats or Giurah, Giurah. And he talks about the Swiss Nazi Templars of Octagon. And we can know them by their symbols. And this octagon symbol, like, for example, the shape of the Red Cross is a symbol very well known to everyone. And I think the corruption of the Red Cross is also becoming pretty well known to everyone. Yes. But if you join the angles of that together, it makes this 8-pointed shape of an octagon. And many of the stars and badges that we see, like in police badges, they form an octagon. And when you see the princes and the heads of Freemasonry and other secret societies wearing their uniforms and regalia, they have this sort of star shape that can be joined up to make an octagon. And I think it's, if you've never heard of that before, go have a look into it. There's quite a lot of stuff on YouTube about it. I think The Pharaoh Show is one of the titles of the episodes.
Okay, yeah, I actually subscribe to Central Intelligence Agency, so I don't know who it was, though.
Right, well, he's a professor from South Africa, and really an extremely intelligent man. He was living in Switzerland, and he discovered some of this just from knowing some of the families and the talk in his community. And when he started exposing it, they really came down on him hard. He got thrown in jail a couple of times, and for the last few years, he's been on the run, backpacking around Europe, sleeping in forests and stuff like that. But he keeps doing these shows and filming the symbols around their castles. And if you've never been to Europe, it's perhaps hard to fathom. You might think, there's one or two big castles there. But in fact, as you drive through it, they're everywhere. There are thousands, maybe tens of thousands of these castles, and many of them not ruins, but still actively occupied by the people that have been there for centuries.
Yeah. Europe is, ancient in comparison to the United States. I think that that's not something that you really think about. I've seen, lots of pictures from like tourist traps and stuff like that. But, we're talking about, generations and generations of, royalty, basically. Like each of these places had their own little fiefdoms, and so what happened to all that money, Yeah,
and that's a really key point there too, is that the history of Europe has really been a history of city-states. And the countries that we're familiar with today are only quite recent inventions. I mean, Napoleon was the start of uniting some of these different principalities together under the Holy Roman Empire. The nation of Italy, we think, oh, there's ancient Rome, Italy's thousands of years old, but actually the country of Italy was formed in after the revolutions of 1848. And that's when the Vatican City was created as its own separate city-state as well. The country of Germany is a similar story. It was really a selection of principalities rather than one independent country. So although they have formed these countries, it's a little bit like the EU. It's an overarching kind of power structure to control the people, but the wealth still sits in much smaller pockets within the broader framework of the country.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left, Steve. Did you have anything specific that you wanted to get into with your own research? I mean, the things you've done are vast and far.
Yeah, well, I'd like to point people to my channel, Crypto Beast, on YouTube. And, I've recently done a show looking at the Grateful Dead. But I'm very into Burning Man, or at least used to be. I went to Burning Man first in 1998, and I've been a dozen times. I wrote a blog about it called burners.me. And I started to notice that in the world of Burning Man, that I saw similar behavior in social media that I saw in discussing things like chemtrails. It's a playbook that these organized groups of trolls seem to work from. And I was like, why would they be applying that to Burning Man, a dance party in the desert? Why would there be these sort of trolls operating from a government playbook? And then so I've done a lot of research into that, and I've presented it in a series called Silicon Valley's Secret Weapon, The Shadow History of Burners. And I've basically linked the counterculture that emerged in the 60s that was launched with the Grateful Dead and the acid tests. That's a project really coming out of Stanford University and out of the Tavistock Institute. And it's been ongoing for more than 50 years now, and they have used this counterculture project to launch the world of computers on us as well. And you can't separate them from each other. So you can't look at Silicon Valley simply as a place of technology, because it's also the generator of the counterculture, which was the 60s and the hippies and the Grateful Dead back in the day, and more so Burning Man today. But it's also an epicenter in the world of Satanism. And you have Bohemian Grove is very close to San Francisco. It's only a couple of hours drive to the north. And this has been going on since the 1800s. And they brought the Chancellor of Germany out there, and he said, oh, yeah, I've been to similar rituals like this of people in robes in the forest in Germany. And these things have been going on forever. So also look into the Druids. If you haven't heard of the Druids are very, very linked up with Freemasonry. In fact, it's called the Ancient Order of Druids. It was launched about the same time as Freemasonry was launched. And look into Stonehenge. Stonehenge, we're told, is this ancient monument, but there's photographs of the stones being moved around by cranes and it being repositioned to align to the sun in modern times, in the 20th century.
Really?
Winston Churchill wasn't just the prime minister. He was an occultist, and he surrounded himself with black magicians, such as Aleister Crowley, and he was a practicing druid. Queen Elizabeth of England, she was inducted into the Druids when she was a princess before she became the queen. So this kind of ancient black magic sorcery stuff is still going on, and the people at the highest levels of power in the world, this is what they get up to. And I think this is what is behind the pedo cult. It's not just that they have a sexual desire towards children, or even not just that they're living on adrenochrome or drinking blood or whatever. It's this ritual magic energy and these negative dark energies. And we've seen all kinds of cultures all around the world of child sacrifice and cannibalism.
Yeah, it's very disconcerting. That is incredible what you just said there. Because I mean, you hear druids, you think druids, and you think about these Celtic people that died out, like hundreds or thousands of years ago, whatever it is. And of course, we talk about like the satanic nature of the cabal often here, but I never thought to connect that to druids. You know, that's a mind blower.
Well, Julius Caesar in 55 BC, he went on a mission to basically clean France and Great Britain out of barbarians. And he wrote about it, that he encountered the Druids, and the Druids would build a giant wicker man, and they would burn people inside the giant wicker man. And even our traditions like Halloween, that comes from the Druid. The Druids would go through a village, and they would knock on each door with a piece of bone. And you were supposed to come out and put an offering of gold or food or whatever you had to the Druids. And if you didn't respond, then you would be thrown into this bone fire as punishment, and a visible punishment for everyone to see. Whoa. And Caesar also wrote about the power of the Druids, that there could be two mighty armies about to have a war with each other, and a single Druid could come in and intervene and prevent the war from happening. And so that's what I think they were doing, is these ancient mystery schools have always kind of got in the ear of the king or the president. And, we have the story of Merlin with King Arthur. If you look through history, most kings have had a Merlin, some kind of wizard or sage, behind them whispering in their ear. And where did those people come from? Well, they came from these ancient mystery schools. And just to finish also on that point of Druids, Bohemian Grove has got a tradition of being more Republican-oriented. The Star Wars program for Ronald Reagan came out of there. The Manhattan Project came out of there. But Nancy Pelosi's husband, Paul Pelosi, is a big-time Bohemian Grover. So he's going and dressing up in the robes as a Druid and doing these ancient Druidic rituals in the forests.
Yeah, I had heard that previously, I think Bill Clinton said something. Somebody asked him about it, and he said, isn't that place where Republicans go out into the forest and wear robes? But, when you look at, like pictures or like guest lists of people, it crosses, both sides of the aisle. I think that for a lot of these politicians, the left-right paradigm is simply there just, for us, for the outsiders. Because when they go into their back rooms in Washington, D.C., they have no problem doing things to help each other or to, help their friends or, their special interests or whatever. The only time that they disagree is when there's like a pinch point that they want us to pay attention to tear us apart as Americans, or when they want a show, they need a soundbite or something like that. And Donald Trump, the only reason he's got the Democrats so openly speaking out against him is because he is unraveling, this this generations-wide tapestry of the power structures that they've created. And the Republicans, the Republicans that speak out against him, Mitt Romney coming out and, saying that, his behavior is disgusting. I don't see it, Mitt. I don't see where you're coming from. I just know that Mitt Romney is threatened by what Donald Trump is doing and the way that he's helping America. Yeah, I don't see how anyone outside of Washington or even in Washington can look at the things that President Trump has done for this country and not see every single one as explicitly good. America was failing. We were completely on the brink of ruin, with our trade deals, with, every aspect of our economy. We've got, poverty is, rampant in certain places, like we started out the show, the homeless population in places in California, to think that we've got the governments there not doing something to help those people. But they have absolutely no problem, making sure that we sell our ports to China or whatever it is. It's disgusting. Well, listen, Steve, thank you so much for coming tonight, brother. I want to have you back on the show again soon. Everybody loved you. Okay. You've got amazing things. He's done a lot of great digs, you guys. So I highly suggest that you go to his channel, Crypto Beast. It's in the description below this video. You can also see his Twitter in that description below the video. And let's see. Yes, I just got a super chat and from Smiles M, and they said, please have Steve again. Amazing history connection. So yeah, Steve, I would have no problem with you coming on the show, very soon, very soon.
Great. Thank you very much. It's been great to be here. Cheers.
Yeah, no problem, brother. Okay, we'll talk to you soon. And everybody go subscribe to Steve's channel after this and follow him on Twitter. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. See ya.
Yep, bye-bye. All right, you guys. Wasn't that awesome? That was such a good show. Oh, my gosh. We still have Thomas, too. Yes, great time having Steve on the show, you guys. Let me take a look here. I know I have a couple of different people that I need to say thank you to. Let's see. So, yes, I need to say thank you to Justin Rains. He said it's showtime. Nicole Susan Constance, thank you very much. Jeff and Tara from Plano, Texas, love you, Patriot. Thank you very much. Jason was a Gentile, was awesome. Let's see. We've got Turner, Oregon, love me some RedPill78. Someone said, don't interrupt the show to mention this. Thank you very much, Barbecue. Appreciate that. M. Biggs, RedPill78 is on fire. Alexandria, Occasional Cortex. Sorry, guys. The sound is overmodulating. I'm backing up. Dana Finkler, he said, don't keep it up, brother. Frick the haters. Haha. Oh, Bean. Sorry, guys. I didn't realize how close I was to the mic. Sharon Barasa, Crystal Lewis, Kimberly Bogon, Team Bogon in the house, Highlander, and Kiana. We all love RedPill78. TikTok says, check out my Twitter about the trafficking. Smiles said, Steve, come on again. And then Trisha Nordby, thank you very much for that super chat. You do appreciate that. And sorry about the gain, guys. I have backed up from the microphone. Sorry, deplorable vet. I'm really, really sorry. Okay. Let's see. We are going to call Thomas now. We're going to call Thomas. And let me get him on. Actually, I need to change something real quick. True reporting. Okay, great. We've got over 2,000 people in the chat, you guys. And here comes Thomas. Steve is going to come back, and you guys, his Twitter and his YouTube are in the description of this video.
Hello.
Thomas with True Reporting. How are you, sir?
Hey, man, how are you? I'm doing good.
I'm good. Are we gonna? I don't have video on you. Let me see. There we are. Mm-hmm. Let me just.
I can't see you though.
No, I know. 1 second. I just gotta get that covered up.
Sure.
Can you see me now?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. All right, and we're back. All right, everyone. We've got Thomas from True Reporting. How are you, brother?
I'm good, my man. How are you?
I am excellent. Let's see here. Have you had a good day? Did you have a nice relaxing weekend?
I had a great weekend. I went to a very close friend of mine's wedding. It was a very good time. He does not follow the movement, but he is a conservative, so he's on the right side.
Well, there's always time to bring him over.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that.
All right, guys. So let's see here. Thomas, I've got quite a few stories I wanted to talk about. This is a new setup, so I'm going to do a test video, and then the audience is going to hear it. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear it, so just let me know if this comes through. So you guys know my friend Methods. Methods has been on fire this weekend. Thomas, do you follow Methods?
Absolutely. Me and Methods, we messaged back and forth on Twitter.
Yep,
great guy.
He's a great guy. You know, he was in the show, or he was in the audience earlier tonight. I don't know that,
awesome.
I don't know that he's still here, but yeah, he's a good friend. An incredible researcher. Well, he pulled up a little clip of Admiral Rogers speaking. Mm-hmm. And he says here, listen carefully and consider what Q has created. Admiral Rogers says, what we're finding is the same thing that motivates, I want to be a part of something bigger than myself. This is one of the most important things about this movement, is that people have found that rather than just being, alone, being like a single grain of sand on the beach, You are part of an actual creative and explosive force. You know, together, all of us waking up, all of us, coming together and banding together as digital soldiers, as digital warriors, we are creating the change that we have been hoping for so long. You know, it's not just Donald Trump. You know, Donald Trump was a catalyst. You know, he gave us the power to come out and talk about these things and take our country back. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video real quick. And Thomas, if you can't hear it, then just let me know.
Sure.
So let's talk about where do we find these people?
Cannot hear.
You're
No,
talking
okay.
about 6,000 or so who are on the cyber reaction teams and so on, as well as...
Can you guys hear this?
Defenders...
Bogan. Sorry, Kimberly.
How tough is the fight for talent, Mike, as you sit in...
Right. So knock on wood. The force right now is about 80% military, 20%. If you look at the billet structure, it's about 80% military, 20% civilian. The civilian side, interestingly...
Tell me, guys, if you can hear this in the audience. I'm actually... It's not coming through my headset.
40% military. It's a little bit
Very
harder
low.
to
Okay. I don't know if it's this particular video or if it's the new setup that I've got. Tina Baldwin just said, there's just so much to do. Let me see. That's so much for what you do. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. So, you know, this is an important thing to think about, you know, because when President Trump came in, Thomas, you know, I mean, we all knew. We knew that things were going to be different. But I don't know that that we realized just how different things were going to be. I mean, did you think that it was going to be as crazy and intense as it has been?
I knew going into this that yes, I felt that it was going to be it's a war. I believe that right now, you know, everyone says, hey, you know, World War III, the apocalypse, blah 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 blah. I don't know if this is the apocalypse, but I guarantee you that this is World War III right now. That's what it is, you know. So I believe that this is World War III. Sure. Yep. Sure. You know, and Q, you know, reiterates this is war, you know, war, and you know, it's a battle, an uphill battle. I mean, what war is he referring to? I believe that he's referring to a literal World War III between good and evil, and it's also a spiritual war too. But but all of it together, in my sense, that this is World War III, and we're soldiers, my friend, all of us.
Yes, we are. You know, this is an important thing. I guess I lost my audio for a second there, guys. I don't know what happened, but is it working now? It looks like looks to me like it's coming through, so I'm gonna run with it. Okay, somebody said you're okay. All right. Okay, so yeah, it's working. It's working now. You know, we've all got our part to play. You know, and whether it's a YouTube channel, or whether it's, you know, just like, you know, red pilling people in your community. Let's see. Hold on. I'm still getting things that they cannot hear us. Cannot hear me. Agree with Thomas. Red wave, spiritual war. Yep. Okay. Now it's working. Great. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. We all have our part to play. You know, and this was the subject that came up on the interview I did with Nate Kane on Friday. You know, like that guy. He's a hero, you know? I mean, like, you got to be super brave and super patriotic to be willing to not only risk your life, your livelihood, your career, you know, to save your country, you know? But, you know, when it comes down to it, you know, all of these little things that we're doing are it's for the same goal, you know? Maybe we're not taking as big of a risk as Nate, You know what I mean? I feel like I'm taking a huge risk in doing what I do because, somebody that I know might, hear me, and know who I am. In the area where I live, like it's seriously one of those places where you got people trolling around, waiting to punch people in the face. It's not fun. It's not fun around here, and as long as I've got my daughter at home with me, the last thing I want to do is to put her in a position where she's going to get hurt, but we can all do something.
Absolutely.
It is incredible. The span of time, in only 2 years, what we've accomplished, the amount of information that we've brought to the forefront, to the public consciousness. As many people now, Donald Trump has a 56% approval rating from a CNN poll. Did you ever think that day was going to come?
No, absolutely not. I don't know what's shifting with all of that. There's also, a lot of stuff in the media where the left is, I don't know if the big, like the CEOs, I'm not talking about the anchors. I'm talking about the people who run these companies. I wonder if, there's only 6 news channels that are like
6 corporations
that are they're the brainwashing machine. And I don't know if someone is taking these people out or they're shifting it because they're on their way out. I don't know, but I have noticed that the jig is up. Let's just say that their jig is up. No one believes them. A lot of their audience is coming over to YouTube channels, to Twitter accounts, to subreddits. This is where it's going. They're done. Who the hell even watches TV anymore?
Yeah, no, I haven't had cable for several years, and I'm not going to get like a digital antenna or something like that. When you can go to YouTube or, like you said, to Twitter or any other number of independent little media sources, and get information from someone that you actually know and can trust, it makes a huge difference. I think that maybe they do see that the writing is on the wall. Maybe they understand that after so many years of lying to these people, to all of us, that people are finally catching on. It's okay, guys. I moved back from the microphone. Is this better? I've heard a couple people say that it was low volume. I think it might be a little bit self-preservation, but I think it's a little soon to think that they've pushed out these people because this is some big money. Like you said, there's only 6 corporations that run all these different media outlets, and they have to have slightly opposing viewpoints. But I think that the Donald Trump is basically Stalin is the narrative that they're still going with, and once all of these things come out here in the next couple of weeks with the D-Class, with the report on Comey, with the IG's report, and then the necessary unsealing of the indictments, I think that's when we are going to see people just completely freak out.
Oh my God, yeah, that's what I'm telling you. I'm telling everyone out there that when this D-Class hits and it's redacted, I pray to God that it's fully redacted. I don't know if it will be, but if it's not, there's going to be a lot of disappointed people out there. So I'm fairly certain it will be redacted enough to where it's exposing names. And what I believe is that is when you will see all-out war. I believe that. I mean, you already have Antifa, you already have technocrats censoring. I feel like I'm in communist China right now. And it's like, again, I can't reiterate on that enough. I believe it all the time. Also, this is war, and once that D-Class hits, it's going to amp up. Censorship is going to amp up. Tensions will tighten furthermore, and just be prepared. I'm not like a prepper or anything like that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying that. Expect FFs.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with you on that. Because they're going to need something to control the narrative. To take people's attention away from this probably the most horrible thing that basically everybody in the world has ever had to wrap their head around. I remember when I first realized, like the core tenets of what this is about, trafficking, human trafficking, child trafficking, and then, missing children, sacrifice. It's a very difficult thing, to allow yourself to believe. You people, I think that good people like us, we don't want to believe that people are actually that evil, but you have to come to that realization at some point.
Yeah, I'm actually. I was trying to DuckDuckGo this meme that I saw. It was a Q meme, and basically it's a timeline. It says like it has like a timeline of about 6 to 7 real big days, and it's the timeline for 2019. The first one is something like the Mueller report. Number two, it says, and then after that, it just gets worse and worse for the other side, for the cabal. It's just and I want to know how this meme came out months and months and months ago. Maybe in winter, maybe November, December. I want to know, like, and people who follow me on my channel, what is this timeline? Do you like, how is everything unfolding so it's so planned out. It's critiqued perfectly. I want to know how and why they can control stuff like this. The good guys.
So you're saying like this planned operation against the cabal. Everything is on schedule with it. This is the meme that you're talking about.
Yeah. I mean, I'll find it. It probably. I'm sure people have seen this, but I know Joe M has retweeted it many a time. That's where I believe I saw it last, maybe a couple days ago. And I want to know how. This may be a little deep, but I want to know how all this is set up and how it's all broken down to where they can, entrap people. And you see people like Claire Bronfman getting sent to prison for 2 years, a multi-billionaire. All of this, the Podesta emails, all of this stuff is just being released so perfectly. I want to know, like, with the time frame, how are they able to manipulate where it comes out so perfectly? I don't know.
I mean,
It's very strange.
Personally, I would say that it's military planning at its finest. They have been working on this for quite some time. And the key was getting Donald Trump into power. And then once he was in power, obviously he started his administration, with a couple of swamp creatures, in his cabinet, with a couple of handpicked people, with a couple of people that, were obviously very loyal to him. And they did everything they could to get certain people out of there. But I think that they've been working on this for a very, very long time, and so President Trump gets into office. He's able to start changing the power structure. They're able to get a couple of good people into the DOJ, a couple of good people at the FBI, and then it kind of just, snowballs from there. And they were able to, work on just every aspect of it. Military precision, someone said. Now, one of the things that's just come out. This is what George Papadopoulos said on Dan Bongino's show. He said that Mifsud's lawyer, Joseph Mifsud, the wannabe Russian spy who was actually an agent for our intelligence agencies, he's now coming out with the new information about how different people were prodding him to set up George Papadopoulos. And when George Papadopoulos came out and and said that Mifsud had been found, he was living next to the embassy in Italy. President Trump called the Italian prime minister, and they had a conversation, a nice long conversation. And George Papadopoulos says that it wasn't a coincidence. This is pretty sweet because
Oh, wow.
so both George and Dan retweeted Method's clip of the show. So it's gotten quite a bit of attention. Pretty amazing stuff. But, this is just another one of those pieces of incredible information coming out.
Yes.
So Dan Bongino was talking with George Papadopoulos the other day, and he was talking about, all of these different things that happen. When this started coming out initially, the Russia investigation, it was all about Donald Trump colluding with Russia, and the idea that there was a counterintelligence investigation against the president was criticized just, to no end. They painted President Trump as a, conspiracy theorist. He was, a crazy person who needed to be removed from office for even suggesting that he had been spied on, And now
Correct.
it is so clear that that's exactly what happened. We had all of these people, part of the cabal and the FBI and the DOJ, and they ran a counterintelligence operation against the president and the candidate at that time. And it involved U.S. intel. It involved foreign agencies, all of them working against it. You've got to think that those other countries are probably really freaking out right now because now that it's come out and it's obvious, they have the possibility for an international incident on their hand.
Absolutely.
Like UK, MI6. MI6 played a large part in everything that happened here. Alexander Downer, Australia. We've got, Italy, obviously. Mifsud has been living there. It was painted that he might have died, because he's been missing all this time. But what do you think's going to happen with Loretta Lynch or Eric Holder? They were big in the Obama administration.
Oh, they're all toast. They're all of them. They're toast. They're going to be trialed. I actually found a meme. I know. I don't know if you can see this on my phone.
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this meme has been out for a very long time.
I think it came out. Yeah, on New Year's Day or New Year's Eve.
Yeah. So it says, Mueller issues his report. That happened. The number 2, FISA class exposing Russia collusion scam. That's about to hit. Then the next one is the DOJ IG report, indictments unsealed, military tribunals, nomination for new vacated positions, the end of 190 years of the Democrat Party. I see that panning out to a T that way, which is crazy.
I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
And people are still, asking when are the indictments going to come, when are the arrests going to happen.
They're already happening.
Exactly. But we've got the roadmap right there. We know that the Comey report's coming out. We know that the D class right after that, and then the IG report. And I've got a story pulled up here someplace that we're going to talk about in a second. But Bill Barr, has confirmed now that there are multiple investigations taking place to go after these people in the DOJ and the FBI. Let's see. Did you see this video of Macron trying to walk down the street in France?
He's going to get killed. I'm serious. I'm serious. They hate his guts, and rightfully so.
We're going to go ahead. I'm going to show this on here. Even if you guys can't... Oh, shoot. Why did it jump over here? There we go. Even if you guys can't hear it, it's still worth seeing if you haven't seen this. It's pretty incredible. All right, here we go. This is Macron trying to walk down the street in France. And as it says, there will come a time when they will not be safe walking down the street. Look at that.
Is that when he gets hit with the egg?
I don't know if he got hit with an egg, but he's walking through the crowd, and there are people on all sides of him. There is trash. That was an egg. That was definitely an egg. And there are people crowded all around him trying to rip him apart, and the look on his face, it's almost like utter defeat, resignation.
They're dying, my friend.
Yeah. Pretty soon he is not going to be able to go outside at all. Let's see here. I do need to say thank you very much to David Munyon. He says uranium 1. No, sorry, that was from some time ago. Thanks to both of you for all you do. This is from Sandy Zeiss. I think this is a mutual viewer of ours.
Oh, okay.
But But yeah, Macron walking down the street, I mean, this is what's coming, you guys. This is what's coming for not only the leader of France, but the former leaders of the United States of America. It's going to be an incredible sight. And Donald Trump was talking on an interview the other day on Fox News, and he said it again, that he's going to be allowing declassification. He's going to be doing it soon, and far more than you would have thought. What else do you think might be declassified, Thomas? Anything that you've had ideas about?
Some things that will be declassified. It could be military. Maybe new technologies, cures. I don't know what else. I mean, are you talking about criminal declassification?
Well, I mean, the thing is that President Trump, he wasn't specific, and I think that's part of the beauty of it. He's just saying that he's going to be allowing declassification soon, and it will be far more than you would have even thought. I will be declassifying everything. So obviously, I think that we're going to get the declassification of, everything that has something to do with, Spygate and, this fake Russia investigation.
Sure.
But what I'm getting at is I think that this is going to begin to expose many, many more crimes over and above just the Russia stuff. I think this is going to open the door, and it will show just how far back this has gone and how deep this stuff is.
That's going to scare a lot of people who are not ready for this.
I agree.
I fear for that sometimes, man, that like Q says, that this would put 99.9% of people in the hospital. I remember, Q posts, from the beginning saying that, they can't do a full transparency. They can't do full disclosure on a lot of stuff because of how damning it's going to be to a lot of people who aren't prepared. Somebody like my parents, for instance, who are boomers. I don't, no offense to boomers or anything like that, but my parents have no idea. They have no idea about any of this. They don't, and I think that once they see a former president or multiple former presidents being tried for attempting to overthrow a sitting president, a Secretary of State being put in handcuffs, Epstein Island, with the flight records, who these people really are and what they do, man, it's going to be.
It's a game changer.
I don't know.
I mean, that's the kind of thing that destroys your foundation,
It destroys your reality.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like I said earlier, just coming to terms with that realization, that was pretty tough. I mean, I think I was in a dark place for a little bit as a result.
You were black-pilled.
Yep, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But, I think that it's going to... I don't know how soon we're going to get there, but I think that all of these disclosures along the way are going to allow people to see exactly, how bad it is and how far it goes. But yeah, we got lots of boomers in the audience. People have said, "I'm a boomer."
Yeah, don't take no offense to that.
No, boomers are great. I think that. One of these things here, Mueller claimed in the report. Oh, God's guy says, just release the Wiener laptop and let the world see the truth. I would have to agree with you there, Guy. I mean, I think that even if they released the Wiener laptop in part, then I think that would, kind of, prime people for it. But it's gonna. Who do you think would potentially be exposed first as having some connection to the trafficking? Can you think of anybody that you might see going down for it?
For the trafficking,
I mean, knowing that everybody basically is connected.
to
it.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think we're gonna just. You're talking about political wise.
Yeah, okay. We're gonna have to see at least one politician connected to it, I think.
Possibly what I would say would be Wiener, obviously. What is his wife's name? Is skipping my mind right now. His ex-wife, rather.
Oh, Huma Abedin.
Yes. I think we could see something with her. You know, that's a you know, we're seeing bits and pieces of that already with. I'm telling you, with this trial, I don't know if you've been following, but that Epstein trial that's going on in Florida, that's going to release big names. He's going to go to prison for a very long time.
What can you tell us about that? I mean, the last I had heard was that the judge had made the decision that things would be declassified, but I haven't seen any reports on it.
Sure, I think you got to look into the Miami Herald.
Okay.
That is the newspaper or the website maybe that is following that very closely. I've put podcasts out on that because of lots going to come from that.
I can imagine.
That's when you're going to see big politician names. We
Yeah.
know who's linked to Epstein.
Oh, I
we
mean,
know, and they're
everybody's-
big time players, man.
Everybody's linked to Epstein. You know, if you're a money person or a power person, you know, that's how Epstein, you know, maintained his position, was because he wouldn't touch somebody's money or their investments unless they had like $1 million to invest, and
Sure.
he would figure out, you know, how to compromise them. You know, I think that Epstein very possibly is part of an intelligence agency honeypot operation. You know, I mean, it goes deeper than just one guy, you know, who's a disgusting pervert and who happens to have a lot of money. It's much deeper than that. You know, so I think that, yeah, I think you're right. If Epstein, if the information fully comes out about Epstein, then that will connect the dots for a lot of people.
Well, if you look, I mean, if you check out the Miami Herald, I believe it is for sex trafficking. I believe that's what he's being tried for.
We're going to take a look.
Yeah, Miami Herald.
All right, let's take a look. All right, so last thing I see is 3 days ago, of course, they've got to bring up Trump's labor secretary.
Sure.
Defends the Epstein plea deal. We were too aggressive. What? You got to be kidding me. Okay, so here we are about the trafficking case. And this is the article that I have seen. This is from November 2018. Yeah, here's the thing. Anytime I try to go look for something, I can't find any new information. You know, and I have
Sure.
to think that this is by design. You know, they're constantly trying to put at the top of the search results what it is that they want you to see.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asked, what do we think about Julian? Julian Assange was sentenced to 50 weeks in jail for
Yes.
skipping his bail. You know, and there was a lot of people, you know, my viewers and your viewers as well, I would imagine, who said that when he was, you know, pulled out of the Ecuadorian embassy, you know, they didn't allow his feet to hit the ground so that he could, you know, just be immediately taken to, you know, a U.S. Base or whatever, you know, so that he wasn't on British soil. But clearly that's not the case because he's been sentenced to jail in the UK.
Yes.
Yep.
Which is terrifying, and I covered this too. Is anything can happen behind the closed doors to that man.
Oh yeah.
And as we know from Q has told us that you know, we have a traitor, which is Edward Snowden,
Yep.
and then you have a patriot, who is Julian Assange. Anything can happen behind those closed doors of those prison walls, my friends. I pray for him, man.
I completely agree with you. You know, I think that it's very possible that he's going to be in danger when he's in there. But at the same time, I think that, you know, by having him locked up on specific charges, because he had no pending charges, you know, I mean, like, all of those cases that were against him had fallen through. You know, the people that had accused him had recanted, or
Yes.
you know, Sweden chose not to prosecute. So they had to hold him on something, I think, so that the U.S. could have an opportunity to probably speak to him and make a deal, because they're going to have to be, you know, continue to prepare, and also it allows the U.S. To kind of delay his being brought to the United States. You know, so you know, 50 weeks, that's a long time. You know, I mean, that's almost a year. But you know, I think that that's a little bit excessive. But I think that maybe people wanted to get their hands on him, and he's probably, going to be tortured, I would imagine, inside that jail, wherever he's at.
Look what happened to Tommy Robinson.
I was just going to say that, yeah.
You know, anything. That guy could have been, shanked or shivved or whatever you call it. That could happen to Julian Assange. It's not like he's going to be in some. This guy is he's wanted, man.
Yes, he
They
is.
want him. He is unleashed a information waterfall to the American public, to the world.
Yeah.
About how I can tell you this. I guarantee you the max percentage. The percentage of people being awakened by those Podesta emails because of Julian Assange is got to be in the 80 percentile, if not 90 percentile of waking people up. That's what woke me up.
Yeah. I mean, for me, that was just validation of everything, but I was shocked at how blatant everything was. I mean, like, it was just, in your face, because you look at those emails, and there's no way, if you are a discerning individual with half a brain, that you can look at it and think that it means anything other than, exactly what it appears to. You had a lot of codes used, but I mean, if you do a little bit of research, I had a lot of people come down on me at the time for sharing that information and for trying to draw those connections and show them, like, here are FBI declassified information about the symbols and the language that they use. And here is that same symbols and language being used in these emails for the chairman of Hillary Clinton's campaign, and people couldn't handle it.
So this brings up, and my ad, I just want to say that this is the best, conversation stream that I've been a part of, and I've been doing this for a while, a good while. This is just like, I don't know, the intelligence level here is really good. And for some others that it's a little rocky, but this is I just want to say thank you for having me on. This is a lot of fun. I'm glad I did this.
Oh, well, Thomas, let me just return that favor, man. I appreciate you coming on, and I know that the audience is really psyched that you're here too. And it's great when you can meet up with somebody and actually have an intelligent conversation about this stuff. Because I know like I was saying, where I live, there's only a couple of people that I can talk to, a couple of people in my life,
Yeah.
And since we've met, Thomas, I feel very blessed to have met you and to be part of this community with you, because you're a great guy. And
thank you.
I mean, we've got I think we pretty much got the same audience, and
sure.
and we've each got our own unique perspectives that we can bring to this stuff, and it is a lot of fun. I'm really glad you're on tonight, and I can't wait until you can come on again too.
Oh, yeah, I would love to do maybe a regular thing, maybe something like that. We'll talk about that. But what I wanted to get into, what I wanted to talk about is I get excited about this, man, about this path of the Podesta emails. Because where does this path always end? Even with big time people, it always ends with child trafficking.
Yep.
But let's go one step further when we get into the Moloch, and we get into the spirit cooking, and we get into stuff that is otherworldly. What I want to know, how they know about that. That's what that's the fire that ignites me in this podcast over on my end. I want to know that stuff.
I'm very interested in that that ancient mysticism that seems to drive everything that they do. And this actually came up in my conversation with Steve just before you came on here. You should check that out if you get a chance.
Sure.
He said that it is actually the modern day version of the Druidic religion. Like, they're actually Druids. Mm-hmm. And these, in my opinion, are ancient customs and practices, this ritualistic magic that they use that harnesses evil. It's been passed down, from generation to generation, much like a secret society, it basically is a secret society. But I'm sure I would not be surprised to learn that they have their own secret, evil texts or whatever. They've got these rituals and these customs that they pass along, and you think about, the act of, it scaring someone so much that their body becomes filled with adrenaline. That's that type of custom is used in the slaughter of animals in some
Yes.
places.
That's why most places where there was a slaughterhouse before are very haunted.
Yep.
There's a lot of demonic activity within that area, and or within that, which is so interesting to me because we know. I mean, well, personally, I want to know what are they getting from it. Is it in their head? I don't think so. And some people out there, they ridicule me about me going too far with this because they'll say, well, it's all in their head. They're delusional. I don't think so.
No.
I think that they are able to conjure something that is like with prayer and good thought and positive affirmations. I do that to my sleep to 432 hertz every single night.
Yeah.
I used to think that was crazy. Like somebody told me that, I'd be like, they would say, I'd be like, that's weird, man. What are you, like some kind of freak show? And like no, like it does work. And I was talking about this the other day, that even Q talks about this is a spiritual battle.
Yes.
What does he mean by that? That there is good and there is evil. And I believe that evil has been in charge for a very long time, man.
Yes.
And I think that it is shifting, it is turning, and we are going. I don't know what's going to happen, guys, but there's a reason that we are here witnessing this right now. I think it's like with our souls we've waited and we've come here to witness what is about to take place. And it's so crazy, man. It's so big. It's too big.
there are forces at work that are beyond our comprehension, I believe. Just in the same way that that God and the power of prayer, like you said, there is truth in that, and it's more than just us thinking that because we pray, good things are going to happen. We are actually tapping into the cosmic force. That is God right there at work. And in that same way, these people tap into something evil that is equally powerful, but in a completely different direction.
Absolutely.
So I don't think that you're crazy at all. And I think that for people to not at least accept that as a possibility, they're fooling themselves.
So they do this. Okay, so they actually go to the extent of creating spirit cooking, where they do take adrenochrome from people. They do eat pineal glands. Did you see that article? I mean, I know a lot of people talked about it, where they were getting penguin pineal glands shipped in.
I saw the documents, yes.
So you're telling me that they're doing that because it's a delicacy or something? Absolutely not. They're doing this because they get something from it. They're not doing it for, excuse my language, shits and giggles. They're not doing it because of this. They're doing it because they're getting something in return. I don't even know if these people, I swear to God, and I say this a lot, I don't think these people are even human anymore. I believe that they've sold their souls, or they have been taken over by some sort of entity to continue these practices. It's too dark for them to not be human at this point.
What I thought about that? I thought that perhaps the cover of penguin pineal glands could have actually been a large shipment of human pineal glands. That's what I thought. Maybe
that's very smart. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because I mean, who's going to know? I mean, it's not like, you're going to go through customs and they're going to swab it, to determine if it's got penguin DNA,
Yeah.
and who knows what a pineal gland even looks like. Actually, real quick, a Truth Fairy in the house says YouTube gave you $2, Red, so here's the other 15. Hold on. YouTube gave you $2. Here's the other 15 to complete the magic number. I agree with True, and we came here now to use our light to combat evil. Stay in the light.
Absolutely.
Because only love is real. Where we go one, we go all. Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Very, very true. And then Paul Marshall also donated and said 2 Corinthians 2:10. We'll have to look that up. And then I don't B Tech Vendetta said, "Thank you, Patriots. I love it when all my favorite YouTubers collaborate and hang out together. It's like double the red pill." That's right. God's Guy said that laptop made a 15-year veteran of the NYPD violently ill and cry. I can't imagine the horror that's on that Wiener's laptop. You're totally right. And then God also just said, where did it go? There we go. God said, Ephesians 6:1, our fight is not against flesh and bone. That's right. This is a spiritual battle that we're fighting. You know, it's more than just what we can see and feel and touch and smell. You know, we have, the ether, the spiritual realm around us at all times. Like you can go to a place, if something bad happened there and you can feel it, you know that there is evil present in some of these places. I had a really strange thing happen. This is kind of a ghost story, but the house that I grew up in, my bedroom was in the basement, and there was a family that lived there, and they owned a liquor store. Well, it was Super Bowl Sunday, and the father wanted to stay home and watch the game. So his daughter manned the store for him, and a couple of hoodlums came in, and they shot and killed her in the process of robbing the store. Well, I didn't know this at the time, but it turns out that she and I shared a bedroom. And I had a number of really, really disturbing, like paranormal experiences in that room. We had a priest come out and bless the house. I would do anything I could. Every night I would fall asleep only after several hours of praying and sweating bullets, just knowing that something was going to happen. I would hear footsteps walking across the room, coming up to my bed, and I could never turn around and I could never look at it. And it was years before it stopped. I had to sleep with the radio on for years in order to just, drown out the sound, but I slept with the radio on until I was 23. I was so positive that if I turned the music off, that I was going to hear it. And it didn't matter, what I did, it was always there, so I know that girl dying in that horrible, awful way, it tied her. She could not leave the earth and she couldn't move on. Or maybe it's more than, maybe her soul left, but maybe just the the physical manifestation, the spiritual manifestation of her pain and those people who killed her tied her to that house. It was, this thing has power, and people are too quick to dismiss it. I think that nowadays people are much more open to the idea, but when I was younger, like you said, you believe in ghosts or you believe in, life after death, you got a lot of scorn from people. Luckily I went to, I went to a religious school. I went to a parochial school. And so there was, always a spiritual, teacher that I could speak with there. We had priests and we had deacons and, we had people, in Sunday school, there was always someone there who could help me try to make sense of stuff, but growing up in, a lot of areas where they've, crushed the idea of, spirituality and Christianity, there's a lot of people who don't have those things. So it makes it even easier for them to turn away from the light, and then also at the same time more difficult for them to realize how powerful the people are that actually harness that dark energy.
Absolutely. I think that, like you said, that energy with the girl in that house, it soaks up. That wood, that stone, that all gets soaked up into. It soaks the energy up. And imagine the Biltmore Estates pool. What the hell that energy is, man. I've never been to the Biltmore Estate.
No.
But I know that this is crazy. Jason Ming, that's the guy who does information for me. I've known him since I was 3 years old. He actually went to Comet Ping Pong. He's from down the street. You know, I grew up with him, and he got me into all of this. And he went to Comet Ping Pong, and he said that it was so thick in there, the energy was so dark and thick that him and his wife had to leave. Granted, he wasn't going to eat there. He just kind of wanted to test the waters. He said it was so dark, and he said the people that resonate in there, that energy that resonates, excuse me, it's palpable, man. He says it's really bad. So I can't even imagine what those cameras are catching on Epstein Island in those tunnels. You know, holy hell, you know.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, you know, and I don't think I could step foot in there, you know. I mean, I think that it would be evil. Filled with Hope just said, my mom used to say to pray for people who don't believe in the supernatural and demons because it meant they had no way to fight back or defend themselves. They would just be used by the demons. I think that's very, very true.
Yeah.
Now,
vulnerable.
someone earlier in the chat said that God doesn't think you're special. God doesn't think we're special. I would have to, you know, wholeheartedly and vehemently disagree with that. I think that God thinks that we're each and every single one of us special. I would have to say
we're all the same. We're all the same people.
Exactly. We are all part of God. You know, we were created from one thing, and that one thing is God. Everything in this universe came from a single point of action. So I would have to disagree. I think that that each of us are special. Each of us have a part to play.
Why do you think Trump always says you're special? These are special people. He knows, man. He knows so much. I don't know. Man, see, we could go down another rabbit hole, which is crazy. We could talk this whole thing when I tried to talk to you about that meme earlier about the timeline. What about if you've read the Marvelous Adventures of Baron Trump?
Yes.
You know, I've read that. The Last President, 1900. That talks about Donald Trump. What is this reality? Is what I want to know. Are they using time travel?
I think that's very possible.
I'm not saying that they're getting in some machine or they're driving a car 88 miles per hour and it disappears. I'm saying that and I wanted to go over this, but the paperwork, the white pages are too long to actually do a podcast on. But there are CIA white pages that talk about remote viewing and how that they can move crafts, they can move objects with their minds. So if you don't, remote viewing is basically when that you can leave your body. It's almost like astral projection, where you can leave your body and view something in a different area because time is not real. So everything is happening right now in real time. So it's not considered time travel. I think that they're just manipulating themselves and what they can alter. And I believe the deep state knows how to do this too. So I believe that there is a constant timeline battle that is going on that can get really deep and really confusing. But this is one of the things that I cannot put down, man. This is the kind of stuff that I can't let go of.
No, you're totally right. You know, the government, with their tremendous, monetary influence and their ability to just, pour cash into whatever program they wanted, they have done some studies on some really strange things, to the average person, the paranormal and, the psychic phenomenon that exist. They have done a lot of stuff with that, that remote viewing program. They released some information about that a couple years ago. I'm sure you saw the same stuff, and then they said that, we just stopped doing it. Really? Can you think that an intelligence agency would train a group of 10 or 15 people to figure out where all the missile silos are for our our greatest global enemies and even our allies, and they wouldn't continue to use it for other things? And as far as the last president and the adventures of Baron Trump, when you put that together with Donald Trump's uncle John Trump, and then his proximity to Nikola Tesla, and all of the work that he did, I can totally see it as being a possibility that there was some type of time travel that that was used, or maybe it's a type of like time remote viewing, or what if they found a way just to influence certain things, using some type of machinery, not even just sending people back in time, but, doing something that can affect something in the past, or maybe they found a way to send solid objects, or inanimate objects, not living things, but the list goes on and on.
And the big thing is, who told them? How did they figure that out? I don't, we can go down to George and Sather Road. I know a lot of people get weird about that, about extraterrestrials, this and that, being called demons. But who told Nikola Tesla that you can't just make it up out of thin air? There's no way that, unless you yourself are being shown something, maybe through God, maybe so. Maybe that was his path. But I need to. That's another rabbit hole for another day. But
Yeah,
I want to know where these people get this information, and I want the information. If anything were to get declassed, I want it to be that information to where I can heal myself. You're crazy if we can't heal ourselves.
Yeah.
That's. I really believe that we can heal ourselves, and there's a reason that they put stuff in that atmosphere. There's a reason that they put stuff in our food, our water, our medication, and because going against, like you said, that commenter, the whoever said that we're not special people, they're threatened by us. We are very special, and they hold us back because our potential knows no bounds.
No, I completely agree with you. We use maybe like 10% of our brain power. Can you imagine if people were empowered or were, physically able to do more than that? I think that we would essentially, how much brain power do you think Tesla used? I think that he had said one time that he was like tapping into some type of, cosmic intelligence or something.
Wow.
Like that,
That's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. Now, my friend Son of a Green Card said, don't mind the haters. Papa is very fond of all of us in his own way and because of the special gifts he gave us. Also, Tanette Booth said, in regards to my ghost story, it's not her soul, it's her residual energy. Yeah, I think you're right on there. So, Thomas, we've got just a couple minutes left.
Sure.
I do want to say that, Thomas's Twitter and the link to his YouTube channel is in the description of this video below. Did you have anything that you want to leave us with, my friend, or anything special you got coming up?
Yes. So I've been talking about this on Twitter, that I did open a PO box. A lot of people ask, when are you going to do that? That will be done very soon. I am, and Red Pill understands this too, that I am under some sort of censorship blanket at this point, where I've told him about it, is if the immediate second that I upload a video onto YouTube, I lose 20 subscribers. Not 1 to 2 to 3 to add up to 20, but an immediate 20 is gone. I've lost over 1,000 subscribers. It's not you guys. I know it's not you guys. It's something that they're doing to me. I don't know why. But many things are going on with my channel. I do a live call-in show, which is very fun. I do it from 8 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That usually occurs almost every day. I may cut that back just to weekdays. But, very, very fun stuff. It's open forum. Like I said, you can call in and talk about just like what we've talked about today. This is one of the best conversations that I've had. It's good to meet like-minded people and to be able to get some of this stuff off your chest because, I struggle with that with a lot of people, that they just don't get it and they shut it down. And I feel like this is a very good opportunity for everyone out there to listen to two very intelligent people about something that they do for a living, that we have put everything on the line. I've gone through a lot of stuff on my end. I know you have too. Yeah. And it is, we can talk about whistleblowers and how they've done that and how they risk their lives. I believe that we risk our lives every day doing this. I mean, they could take us. It wouldn't take but a blink of an eye for something to happen to me or you.
No,
so
you're totally right. You're totally right. And I hope that we can do this again sometime soon. If you want to have me on the show, I'd be happy to come over there, man, anytime.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I would
100%.
I would love to. So listen, guys, I do have a couple other people I need to say thank you to. I need to say thank you to Paul Marshall. He said, let's pray. RedPill78, lead us in praying. And Carrie Collins sent a donation for the news show. Thank you very much, Carrie. Thank you very much, Paul. like we were saying, this is a spiritual war. And I think that one of the things that we can all do, in helping further our mission, is check out what Nate had to say on Friday. Operation Bended Knee. If we all pray every day at the exact same time, imagine the power that could possibly come from all of us focusing our energy in a positive way, rather than, sitting around and, waiting for something to happen, or, thinking that, geez, it's awful that there is so much evil out in the world. Let's focus our energy, towards love and light and healing and being there for each other. Because we are not alone, you guys, and we have, horrible forces that we are up against, but we really have the ability to do something special here. God's Guy says, props on the new gear. Looks, sounds great. Best show on YouTube. Best family praying almost every night for this media. That's right. Thank you so much. Kimberly Bogan says, thank you both so much. And thank you both for those super chats. All right, you guys. This is, I think we're at the end. We're at 11 p.m. So once again, Thomas, I want to thank you for coming on the show. True Reporting is a great channel, you guys. If you have not subscribed yet, please go and do that. Make sure you turn on notifications. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. And if you are a sub, make sure that you check to make sure that your notification bell is still on. You can follow me at RedPill78 on Twitter. You can follow Thomas at True Reporting on Twitter. You can check both of our information below. I've got a P.O. box myself. I've got a couple of people that I just received some special gifts for, and I'm going to be talking about those tomorrow, so make sure you tune into the video tomorrow night. As always, this has been RedPill78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News for Saturday Night Livestream. Good luck, everyone, and God bless. And thanks again, Thomas.
Thank you, my friend.
We'll talk to you soon, brother.